The world of Sira turns slowly. It exists in a pocket of space where the light of distant nebulae is thick like colored dust. Its surface is dominated by a single, shimmering, pearlescent ocean, but it is not an ocean of water. It is the Lamaska, a sea of dense, luminous mist that covers the planet's deep valleys and chasms. This mist sea breathes. It follows a slow, tidal rhythm. During the passing of the bright, white sun, the Lamaska pulls back, receding into its deepest trenches, revealing the dark, ancient, stone foundations of the continents. As the sky deepens and the second, dimmer amber sun holds sway, the Lamaska rises, swelling up the cliff sides, filling canyons, and reclaiming the lowlands in a soft, soundless inundation. It glows from within, a faint, cool, shifting light. Life here is lived on the heights. The continents are great tablelands, raised thousands of feet above the mist floor, their edges forming monumental cliffs known as the Great Scarps. Here, on the edge of the continent of Althoria, the world drops away into a luminous void. The rock of the scarp is ancient, wind-scoured, and sheer. It is not barren. Hanging in great, pale green waterfalls from the lip of the precipice are the mist kelp vines. They root in the rock itself, their long, fibrous bodies trailing hundreds, sometimes thousands of feet down, dangling into the glowing breath of the Lamaska, from which they draw their sustenance. Far below, where the mist is thickest, shapes move on the opaque surface. They are vast, yet appear delicate, the mist striders. They possess long, impossibly thin legs, and they walk upon the dense Lamaska as if it were solid ground. They move with a slow, deliberate grace, their dark bodies silhouetted against the light below, traveling from one unseen horizon to the next, seemingly at random. Their purpose known only to them. They are solitary creatures, and the paths of two rarely cross. Higher up the cliff face, in the zone where the mist washes and recedes, the rock is covered in a soft, silvery green carpet. This is glimmer moss. When the Lamaska is high, the moss absorbs its cool light. When the mist tide falls, the moss retains the glow, a pale, shimmering ribbon that traces the shape of the entire continent, marking the high tide of the mist. In the clear, thin air above the scarp, dark shadows drift on the thermal currents. These are the ether rays. They are massive, flat-bodied creatures that soar on wide, membranous wings, catching the updrafts that rise from the Lamaska's warm, glowing surface. They move in patient, looping circles, casting long, slow shadows over the cliff faces and the world below. And within the cliff face itself, there are dwellings. Carved deep into the stone, far from the rising mist and sheltered from the high winds, are the homes of the scarp folk. They are not cities, but clusters of hollows. Round windows and small, stone balconies looking out over the great luminous void. Tiny, trembling bridges, woven from the dried fibers of mist kelp, connect one cluster to the next. The folk themselves move slowly, deliberately. Small figures can be seen tending to the kelp vines, lowering baskets to harvest the pale, glowing strands. Others on wider ledges maintain gliders, simple, functional structures of lightweight wood and treated hide. They wait, patiently observing the ether rays, watching for the subtle shifts in the wind that signal a safe moment to launch, to cast themselves out over the great, shimmering sea of mist. Moving upward, past the lip of the Great Scarp, the continent of Althoria opens up. It is not a flat plain, but a vast, wind-swept moorland, stretching further than the eye can see, under a sky that shifts from deep indigo to pale amber. The ground here is hard, dark rock, crisscrossed by shallow, ancient fissures. There are no trees. The landscape is dominated by fields of stone grass, short, stiff blades that are not green, but a deep, hematite red. When the high, thin winds blow across the tableland, the stone grass does not bend. Instead, it produces a faint, resonant hum, a continuous low-frequency sound that is the only voice of the high plains. Scattered across these red moors are the geode shrubs. From a distance, they appear to be large, gray, cracked boulders. But they are alive. They grow with geological slowness, their outer shells hardening like stone. In the center of each boulder is a hollow, a crystalline heart that gathers the faint warmth of the two suns. At dusk, as the amber sun sinks, these shrubs open their stony petals slightly, releasing the stored warmth in a gentle, visible pulse of heat, creating shimmering air currents around them. The only water on the surface comes from the sky pools. These are not lakes, but wide, perfectly circular depressions in the stone, shallow and mirror smooth. They gather moisture from the air itself, the thin humidity that rolls in from the Lamaska far below. The water is clear, still, and cold. Around their edges, the red stone grass gives way to a ring of vibrant, crystalline blue moss, which thrives on the captured dampness. Herds of great, shaggy creatures move across this landscape. The stone beasts. They are covered in thick, layered, plate-like hides that mimic the gray, cracked rock of the geode shrubs. They move slowly, grazing on the tough stone grass, their heads low to the ground. They are six-legged, their movements measured and heavy, their broad feet carefully finding purchase on the uneven stone. They communicate in subsonic rumbles, too low to be heard, felt only as a faint vibration in the rock itself. There are no large settlements here. The people of the Althorian Plateau are nomadic. They are the wind shepherds. They follow the herds of stone beasts, living in low-profile, movable shelters made from the interlocking, discarded plates of the beast hides. These shelters are shaped like flattened domes, designed to offer no purchase to the constant, humming wind. From above, a camp of wind shepherds is almost invisible, a small, gray cluster against the dark red moor, distinguished only by the thin, pale blue trails of smoke rising from their small, sheltered fires. The smoke does not rise high. The wind catches it, tearing it from the chimneys and pulling it low across the ground, a horizontal smudge of blue against the red grass. They, too, are patient, watchers of the stone beasts, watchers of the sky pools, and watchers of the two suns. The red moors do not last forever. As observation drifts inland, away from the great scarp, the ground changes. The hematite red stone grass thins, its humming vibration fading, giving way to vast, silent plains of pale, gray dust. The wind moves over this expanse without sound. Here, the world is punctuated by the spires. They are tall, needle-thin towers of black, volcanic rock, thrusting up from the dust plains like a forest of jagged lances. Some stand alone, a single 1,000-foot obelisk. Others are clustered together in tight-knit, chaotic formations, their peaks seeming to scrape the low clouds. They are ancient, their surfaces scoured smooth by millennia of high-altitude winds, yet their edges remain impossibly sharp. This region is known as the Serrated Sands. It is a place of profound stillness and sharp contrasts. The pale gray dust, fine as powder, carpets everything, banking in deep drifts against the bases of the black spires. When the wind picks up, the dust does not form clouds. It flows like a liquid, a low, gray river moving across the ground, reforming the dunes and drifts in slow, graceful patterns. Life here is scarce and high. On the sheer, vertical faces of the spires, tiny, clinging organisms survive. They are lithophytes, rock eaters. They appear as circular, rust-colored stains on the black stone. They secrete a mild acid, dissolving the rock face inch by inch over centuries, absorbing the trace minerals they need to survive. As they grow, they form intricate, branching patterns like a map of a river delta etched into the stone. The only creatures that navigate this vertical world are the spire darters. They are small, winged reptiles, their scales a deep, iridescent blue. They possess no hind legs, only powerful, clawed forelimbs for clinging to the rock face, and a long, rudder-like tail. They launch themselves from one spire to the next, gliding on the air currents that flow between the peaks. They are fast, a sudden, silent streak of blue against the black stone, before they vanish again, clinging to a new perch. They hunt insects carried on high winds. At the very peaks of the tallest spires, there are lights. They're not fires. They're the nests of the crystal weavers. These are large, insectoid creatures that spin a kind of metabolic, flexible glass. They build their nests at the highest, most exposed points, complex, geodesic domes of translucent, amber-colored strands. The nests catch the light of both suns, and they glow, acting as high, silent beacons over the vast, gray emptiness of the serrated sands. The creatures themselves are rarely seen, spending their lives within their warm, glowing, crystalline homes, suspended between the earth and the sky. The black spires of the serrated sands grow thinner, their presence receding, until they are mere needles on a distant horizon. The pale gray dust settles, and the ground itself transforms. The world is now a glittering, dark landscape, a plain of fine, sharp, obsidian-like shards, a soil of pulverized volcanic glass. From this shimmering, sharp earth, a forest grows. It is the vitreous weald. The trees here are not wood, but crystal. Great, angular structures of milky quartz and flawed, smoky silica thrust upward, their trunks thick and rough. They branch at sharp, geometric angles, creating a rigid, interlocking canopy. There are no soft leaves. Instead, the branches are hung with thin, overlapping plates of natural, translucent glass. Most are the color of pale, smoked amber, while others hold a hue of deep, clear amethyst. This canopy is permanent. The glass leaves never fall. When the wind passes through the weald, it does not rustle. It creates a sound, a delicate, complex, and constant chiming. The sound of a million small, glass plates gently striking one another. It is a high, clear, percussive music that fills the air. The light that penetrates the canopy is dim, filtered through the colored glass, casting shifting, geometric patches of yellow and purple light onto the dark, shard-covered ground below. Life here is quiet and cautious. Small creatures with many legs move slowly over the sharp soil. They are the shard crawlers. Their bodies are soft and translucent, but their feet are thick, leathery, rounded pads, allowing them to traverse the dangerous, glass-strewn floor without a sound. They feed on the trace minerals within the obsidian soil, their forms faintly illuminated from within. Higher in the crystal trees, small, iridescent beetles crawl along the quartz limbs. They are slow, drawn to the brightest points of light, where the sun's rays are focused by the glass leaves. They cluster on these bright, warm junctions, their own polished, metallic shells adding to the forest's muted, shimmering light, still participants in the weald's constant, gentle, chiming song. The endless, delicate chiming of the vitreous weald grows softer, the crystal trees becoming more scattered and small until they disappear entirely. The sharp, obsidian soil gives way to a new landscape, a vast, slow-moving black river that cuts a wide, sluggish path through the continent. This is the tar vein. It is not water. It is a flow of thick, black, viscous pitch, originating from some deep, warm place within the world. It moves with a dreamlike slowness, its surface a wrinkled, semi-solid skin. It advances not in a rush, but in a gradual, creeping expansion, a few yards gained or lost over the passing of a full season. The surface is not flat. It is a landscape of its own, with low, rolling folds and vast, shallow depressions. Where the pitch is thickest, it cools into brittle, shimmering sheets. Where it is warmer, from a current rising from below, it remains soft, a dark, malleable paste. Along the banks of the tar vein, the world is stained black. The ground is hard, saturated, and lifeless. Nothing grows here. Instead, there are the skeletal marshes, forests of petrified trees, caught and drowned by the tar generations ago. Their forms are now just black, glossy skeletons, their branches reaching up from the slow-moving pitch, silent and still. Bubbles of ancient gas, trapped deep below, slowly rise through the tar. They do not burst. They push up the surface, forming large, hemispherical domes of thin, stretched pitch. These domes can remain for days, even weeks, dark, fragile blisters on the skin of the river. When they finally break, it is with a quiet, sighing tear, releasing a heavy, pale vapor that sinks and dissolves back into the tar. Life here is adapted to the slow, sticky terrain. Broad, flat-bodied creatures, the pitch skaters, move across the surface. They have many legs, tipped with fine, oil-secreting hairs, which allows them to walk upon the viscid surface without becoming trapped. They move in short, quick geometric patterns, then remain perfectly still for hours, their dark, shiny carapaces almost invisible against the black flow. They hunt the small, silver-winged insects that get caught on the sticky surface, drawn in by the tar's faint, mineral warmth. The great tar vein crawls across the land, but it does not find an ocean. It finds a low point, a vast, shallow subsidence in the continent's crust, and here its journey ends. It spreads out, the black, viscous flow fanning into a massive, delta-like shape, the movement slowing from a creep to an almost imperceptible stillness. This is the obsidian mirror, a plane of cooled, hardened pitch that stretches for miles, so vast and flat it appears as a solid, black sea. The surface is not uniform. As the tar cools and contracts over eons, it fractures. The entire plane is a mosaic of massive, interlocking plates, mostly hexagonal, separated by thin, shallow cracks. The wind, which blows gently here, deposits the same pale, gray dust from the serrated sands into these cracks, creating a fine, light-colored web, a delicate, geometric pattern drawn across a black, glossy void. The defining quality of this place is its stillness and its reflection. The hardened, polished surface of the pitch is a perfect, dark mirror of the sky above. By day, the bright white sun and the dimmer amber sun glide across its black face. The shadows of high-drifting ether rays pass over it, two shadows moving at once, one on the ground and one in the dark sky reflected below. At night, when the nebulae dusted sky is clear, the obsidian mirror vanishes, becoming one with the cosmos. It lights up not from within, but with the cold, distant light of 1,000 false stars, a perfect, inverted constellation. Life here is slow and silent. Tall, skeletal figures move with impossible delicacy across the mirrored plane. They are the glass striders. They have bodies no thicker than a leafless branch and long, thin, multi-jointed legs that end in wide, flat, disc-like feet. These feet distribute their weight, allowing them to walk on the brittle, fractured surface without a sound, without ever breaking the plates. They move in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, lifting one long leg high, holding it, then placing it gently down, miles away from their last footfall. They are foragers, spending their long lives patiently traversing the cracks, using fine, hair-like appendages on their faces to sift the pale dust, gathering the microscopic nutrients blown in from the rest of the world. From a distance, they are just thin, vertical lines, dark strokes against the bright, reflected sky, their own perfect upside-down reflections accompanying them on their silent, endless walk. The vast, silent expanse of the obsidian mirror does not continue unbroken. Far out, near its perceived center, the perfect flatness is interrupted. The black, glossy plain rises, not into mountains, but into a congregation of immense, rounded structures. These are the weeping columns. They are massive, dark pillars, bulging and thick, as if a great, slow eruption of the original tar was flash-cooled mid-flow, freezing the viscous shapes as they rose. Their surfaces are not sharp, but smooth, black, and glossy, like the rest of the plain, but they are wrinkled, marked by the contours of their slow, ancient formation. They're not still. From fissures near their summits, a clear, thick, oily liquid perpetually oozes. It is the world's slow, cold blood, a filtered, mineral-rich substance pushed up from the pressure deep below. This liquid, the column's tears, traces glistening, rainbow-sheen paths as it creeps down the black, rounded flanks. It moves slower than water, a thick, patient downward flow. Where this substance reaches the base of the columns, it gathers, forming shallow, contained pools on the hard, flat mirror plane. The oil does not mix with the dust in the cracks. It remains separate, a clear, heavy, glistening liquid. And in these pools, life exists. A unique, phosphorescent algae, the tear bloom, thrives in the mineral-rich oil. It is a thick, gelatinous growth, a pale, sickly yellow-green by the light of the white sun. But as the amber sun sinks and the sky darks, the tear bloom begins to glow, a faint, steady, eerie green light. The bases of the great weeping columns are ringed with these dim, silent, glowing puddles. Small, dark creatures move between the pools. The pool skimmers. They are low, flat-bodied, with smooth, black, reflective skin that renders them almost invisible against the obsidian. They possess wide, rounded, webbed feet that allow them to walk silently on the hard plane, and then, with equal ease, to swim through the thick, glowing algae sludge, which they consume. They move only in the deepest twilight, their presence betrayed only by the slow, circular ripples they create in the softly luminous pools. The edge of the obsidian mirror is not a cliff, but a slow disintegration. The vast, black, hexagonal plates begin to fracture, breaking into smaller and smaller shards. Between these dark, glossy fragments, a new earth appears, a fine, bone-white powder, soft as silt. The black shards become islands, then mere flecks, and finally, they are gone, swallowed by a new and silent landscape. This is the Pale Waste, a boundless desert of fine, mineral ash, the long-settled residue of ancient volcanic cataclysms. The wind, passing over this expanse, makes no sound. It lifts the ash not into clouds, but into low, flowing, liquid-like streams that snake across the ground. The world here is one of high, rolling, immaculate white dunes. They are softer than dunes of sand, their crests collapsing and reforming in slow, silent cascades, their shapes constantly, gradually, redrawn by the air. This pale world is not entirely cold. Narrow, dark, jagged fissures cut through the ash-covered plains, some only a few feet wide, others stretching for miles. From these cracks, columns of hot, white steam erupt. They rise in perfect, vertical pillars, ascending hundreds of feet into the high, thin atmosphere before the winds finally tear them into diffuse, wispy clouds. They are silent, the world's breath made visible. Around the warm, damp margins of these steam vents, life holds on. Thick, waxy, pale green stalks push up from the moistened ash. These are the steam lilies. They are leafless, and at their peak, they open a single, large, cup-shaped flower. The petals are pearlescent, almost translucent, angled upward to catch the moisture that condenses from the steam and falls back to earth as a fine, clear dew. And something moves beneath the white, powdery surface. There are no footprints on the dunes. Instead, long, shallow, winding troughs mar the perfect smoothness of the ash, the trail of an unseen presence. It is the track of the ash swimmer, a creature that burrows just below the surface, its passage marked only by the slowly sinking, serpentine depression it leaves in its wake, a silent ripple on a silent, dry sea. The long, serpentine troughs etched in the white ash eventually come to an end. The movement just beneath the surface ceases, and for a long moment, the landscape is still, a canvas of dunes and silent, sinking trails. Then, the ash at the head of one trail begins to shift. It parts slowly, not with violence, but with a steady, quiet pressure. A pale, blunt, eyeless head emerges, its skin coated in the fine white powder. This is the ash swimmer. Its body follows, long and segmented, the color of old bone. It moves with a slow, powerful, wave-like motion, its form finally pulling free of the soft ground. The creature is covered in fine, silvery, hair-like cilia, which vibrate constantly, shaking the clinging ash from its breathing spiracles. It navigates not by sight, but by sensing the subtle differences in temperature and vibration, feeling the faint, deep warmth of the steam vents. It has surfaced near a dense cluster of steam lilies. It moves toward them, its many small, delicate legs barely disturbing the ash, its broad, flat underside leaving a smooth, wide track. It stops at the base of the largest lily, drawn to the moisture gathered in the deep, bulbous roots. Slowly, it begins to dig, its blunt head pushing aside the soft, damp ash near the stem, its entire existence focused on this single, slow, silent task of survival. Far above this ground-level existence, the sky over the pale waste is rarely empty. The many white columns of steam rise in perfectly still air, ascending for thousands of feet before they reach the high, fast-moving wind currents. Here, they are torn apart, their moisture atomized into a permanent, high-altitude layer of thin, icy haze. And within this haze, the vapor drifters float. They are immense, translucent, balloon-like organisms, their bodies little more than a thin, organic membrane enclosing a large volume of the warm, captured steam. They are almost invisible, their forms betrayed only by the way the sunlight bends as it passes through them, or by the long, shimmering, glassy tendrils that trail for hundreds of feet below. They are passive travelers, creatures of the upper air, sailing on the fastest winds, filtering the thin moisture from the clouds, never touching the white world so far below. From this high vantage point, the pale waste itself is a monochromatic expanse, a world defined by subtraction. The countless steam columns rise from invisible fissures, acting as the only true vertical features in the landscape. They are the fixed points in a world of soft, shifting ash. The ground-level existence of the ash swimmer, its silent hunt for moisture at the root of a lily, is a drama that unfolds on a scale too small to be seen from the upper air. The world has fractured into separate domains: the cold, fast, and passive life of the high atmosphere, and the slow, warm, and deliberate life hidden within the ash. One floats, the other burrows. Each is entirely ignorant of the other, separated by miles of still, quiet air, their two realities never intersecting. The thin, icy haze of the upper world provides no nourishment for the ground, and the warmth of the steam vents never reaches high enough to touch the drifters. They are two answers to the same problem of existence, evolving in parallel, yet worlds apart. But this separation is not absolute. Once in a great, cyclical, while an event bridges the gap. A vapor drifter, its long life cycle at an end, loses its buoyancy. The immense, translucent sac deflates, the captured steam within it finally cooling, and it begins its final, silent fall. It tumbles slowly, end over end, descending for miles through the still air, a vast, collapsing shadow. It strikes the ash not with a crash, but with a soft, heavy whump, a sound instantly muffled by the white dunes. It lands like a vast, wet sheet, a sudden, dark patch on the pale landscape. For the burrowing ash swimmers, the impact is a tremor from an unknown source, a sudden vibration from the world above. But the event is also a boon. The drifter's body, composed almost entirely of trapped moisture and thin organic matter, begins to quickly melt and seep into the sterile ground. It is a sudden, localized deluge. This single, rare event will change this small patch of the waste. The nearby steam lilies will flourish, their roots drawing on this unexpected gift. And the swimmers, sensing this new, rich source of dampness from afar, will slowly, patiently begin to migrate toward it, a quiet, unseen convergence on this solitary gift from an alien sky. Closing. And so, the cycles of the pale waste continue. They are measured not in hours, but in the slow eruption of steam, the patient burrowing in the ash, and the rare, silent fall of a creature from the upper air. From our vantage, we have seen this world in its entirety. It is a landscape of immense, quiet patience, functioning on its own simple terms, driven by thermal energy and the slow, silent pursuit of life. This world will continue its slow, rhythmic dance of steam and ash long after our observation ends. There is nothing more to watch, nothing to solve. It is complete in its stillness. And now, we can leave this place to its silence. We let the image of the white dunes and the rising columns of steam fade, allowing the quiet and the stillness of the waste to settle and letting go.